looks like we are up and running. There we go. All right, so our archetypes are white, blue is artifacts. Our signpost untaps artifacts, so probably artifacts like, and in parentheses, with tap abilities. Blue black is big research. We got black red, which is aggro. I don't know if it's necessarily mana value 3 or less. It's just sort of aggro. And the signpost happens to care about that. Oops. All right. Green white we decided was go wide or go tall, your choice. White black is aristocrat. Research. I don't know why I'm capitalizing these things. They don't really need to be capitalized. Blue red is, was it also artifacts? Oh, yeah. It was colorless. Colorless matters. Black green is the undercover. Red white is graveyard. And green blue. Was that ramp? Did we go ramp on that? Mutants, right. Sorry, I haven't really looked at this much for the last week, which I probably should have, but I've been a little busy, so I am not necessarily great at remembering everything that we were working on. But there we go. We got the 10 color pair archetypes. We maybe want to start working on just like commons, just so that we can make sure that each archetype has a lot of stuff that can fill in the voids in the deck. You know, obviously you're not going to get into the deck because of commons, but once you're there, you need some stuff that's up your alley. Hey, Wind, how you doing? Good. Glad to hear it. Oh, good evening, Witch Volkerine. What is going on with you? Just realized how good Spirit of Resistance is. Which card is that? Oh, yeah. As long as you control a permanent of each color, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you. Yep. Because you can have one permanent that is all 5 colors, like Transguild Courier or Reaper King. And that will make your Spirit of Resistance work. I've definitely thought about running this in my Reaper King win conditions EDH deck. It could be good in helping what's it called? Azor's Elocutors win the game, but oh man, that one's real rough. I have never even come close to winning with Azor's Elocutors. Currently enjoying a Spiral from Archon to Crusader 2. In Dota 2. Oh. I'm taking it those are ranks. I used to play Dota 2, but we didn't have named ranks back then. Just like a numbered MMR rating. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Which Dota 2 characters do you like to play? Mostly play support, especially old carries are tough to play with all the new mobility to the game. Rubik was my favorite. Rubik is cool. Being able to copy ultimates is pretty sweet. I also would play a lot of support because that was quote-unquote easier, you know, if I... Like, yes, I couldn't really defend myself very well, but I could help my carry get some kills early, and then, you know, even if my friends who were playing carries weren't that good, they didn't have to be because we could snowball. So it's really important to have a good support, and I was happy to play that role. I played a lot of Wind Ranger and Shadow Shaman. Wind Ranger is not strictly speaking like a great support, but she's all right and lets me transition into more of a carry role late game. Let's see. Shaman is pretty good now. Oh, really? You know, I never played too much competitively. I always thought he was pretty good. He had multiple abilities that, you know, prevented people from moving. And his Serpent Wards can take down buildings like nobody's business. And they buffed his strength back when I was playing to the point that, like, I would just buy a Blightstone and hit opponents out of lane. It was super easy. It was great. Where is this? Nope. Sorry, I'm having trouble opening a file that I need opened for this. There we go, that did it. There's a new item that adds extra abilities or buffs. If he shackles, he now spawns 4 Serpent Wards surrounding the target? Oh, is that the... like the Aghanim's Shard? Hello, Nijugo. After 10,000 years, the title belt is mine. Yeah, it's all yours, man. You can have it. Okay, hold on. Let me... close this. And there we go. All right. So we have here a set skeleton that Sorcerers was kind enough to have made. And yeah, so I figure we just start trying to fill it in with probably a lot of commons, but I mean, at this point, we could probably just sort of take any ideas that people want. We might need to figure out how exactly we want to allot slots in the skeleton to our case files. Because if each pack gets something from gets one case file, then we kind of want those to make sure that there's going to be pretty even color distribution so that we're not messing up the balance. Okay, and we have case files, mystical archives. Well, I don't think we ever decided on whether they were their own sheet or if they were part of the set. Personally, I thought that it made sense to make them part of the set, but if other people feel differently, that's okay too. Sorcerers got Xanathar at both pre-releases. Oh, okay. How does it feel to auto-win? Yeah, I mean, I guess you also have to draw him and be able to play him, and he has to survive, but still, he's pretty good. Case files will be slots outside of the skeleton, if I remember correctly. I don't remember ever deciding on that, but if that's what you guys want, that's what we can do. What the? Oh. I see. UM02. I didn't play him in my first pre-release, and the second hasn't started yet. Oh, okay. So we're still waiting to see how he does. Probably excellent, would be my guess. I am unfortunately... there aren't many stores in my areas, and the ones that there aren't doing pre-releases Saturday or Sunday, which I assumed that they would be when I planned this, so I may not get to go to one, but it's not a huge deal. But the set does look cool, so I would very much like to play it some. And I have been playing a lot more D&D lately. Oh yeah, we weren't sure what we wanted for that. So we just made 2 of them. I'm not caught up on the videos of the first few streams yet. Have you nailed down the set mechanics yet? Yes, we have. Let me put him in here. Let's see. We have search for undercover. Here it is. Okay, so we have undercover, which is you may cast this card. It could be a creature, maybe not. It could be any card type, really. As a 2/2 for 3, creature for 3. If it would die, exile it face down without revealing it instead. You may cast it face up while it's exiled this way. So it's like Morph, but when it dies, you can't flip it up normally. When it dies, you can later cast it from exile like you would an adventure. And that is probably our main mechanic. And then we have research counters, which is like not even an ability. It's not even a keyword. It's a thing. So it's just like some cards give you research counters. Other cards unlock abilities once you have a certain number of research counters, or have scaling effects based on the number you have. So it's just representing that there's all these crazy monsters out there. You're trying to research what the heck is going on and use the knowledge that you gain from that to gain influence and new abilities. And then we got... Actually, I guess I don't actually want this because that'll start trying to trigger it. But probably not if I call it pseudo. There we go. And then we got Raid, which I don't need to add a new one. And we got Exploit. So 2 old mechanics, 2 newish ones. Alright, so case files will be slots outside the rest of the skeleton. 18 uncommon, 30 rare, 15 mythic rare. Are you saying that's just exactly what Strixhaven did for the Mystical Archives? Yes, Undercover is pretty sweet. We personally did not design it. It's been used in a couple of other Magic custom endeavors, but that's okay. What if you keyword the action of gaining research counters? Like what was done with Investigate? And Sorcerer says, I think we just want a symbol for research counters. Like Energy, I know Mainframe supports it, but I do not know how to implement it. Yeah, if I looked at the code, if I took an hour, I could probably figure out how to implement it. The question is if that's worth it. Case file slots are copies of Mystical Archive, and I think Mystical Archive did a fine job. Yeah, but I mean, I also do really like how Innistrad has done it in the past, where it's part of the main set, and I guess they did actually expand the set size because they needed to in order to still make the print sheet sizes work. But I don't know, I kind of like the idea of, instead of having more different cards you can open, still trying to keep the set to a more concise size. But I also am just one vote, so I want to hear what other people think. And it feels like so far we have 2 people who are more on the Mystical Archive sort of page. Oh, you mean Mainframe supports it without needing to code anything? Oh, okay. Well, that would be cool. That would be helpful. But yeah, I don't know how to do that. I know that there's like an insert somewhere. No? Oh, insert symbol, yeah. I have to be in a text box though. There we go. But I don't know if we could make... How would we make our own symbol in here without customizing it? Or like adding in at least a file. Go to style. DM you instructions on how to add a symbol sometime later tonight, tomorrow. Excellent. I appreciate that. For now, we can just type it out, but then, yeah, once we get a symbol, we can put that in. I'm thinking like a book, like an open book, something like that. Okay, so if case files are not a part of the main set at all, we can just disregard them for now, not even think about them, and start trying to fill out the skeleton. I sent a link to a possible icon for research. Oh, cool. You said energy symbol, so I hadn't clicked on it because I thought it was probably just the energy symbol. But let me go take a look. That's not bad. Light bulb plus pencil. Okay. Oh, you made a mistake. Okay, gotcha. All good. Idea for a white card, dissect disguise. Okay. Is this... It's naturalized, but you research. Interesting. So, generally speaking, since it's just, disenchant, which you get for 2 mana at instant speed, we can either make this worse, because we're getting an extra effect, a research counter, so we need to make it worse in some other way. We can make it sorcery speed, we can make it 3 mana. I think sorcery speed is fine. Although flavorfully it might not fit because, like, if you're dissecting the disguise, it's sort of like you're, destroying the undercover, disguise that they were using, but this doesn't interact with undercover creatures. So, I mean, we can always change the name or flavor or whatever, but just something to think about. But yeah, that's good. We definitely want to have lots of ways to gain research in white, blue, and black at varying rarities. And so this one obviously is not going to be like a staple because it's just it's a sideboard card. But it can definitely help. Destroy target creature without a type. Yeah. So that's face down creatures and nameless race, which is not bad, but it can get redeemed later. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we got that one. That is good. Do we want to start just having people toss stuff out and write down whatever people think of, or do we want to focus in on doing all the white commons? You guys have any particular ways you want to do this? Turn target creature face up. See, I like that idea. Is it white, though? Feels more blue, or, I mean, black-green is the color of Undercover. We don't want to mess too much with turn thing face up. Yes, and the reason for that being that if you can just turn anything face up for whatever this card costs, then you're undercutting the cost of turning it up, and then we have to balance every Undercover card we design based on this one card that can turn anything face up. Whenever a creature is cast from exile, you get a research counter. Okay. That feels like an uncommon, at least. And it feels black. Because while white tends to care more about exile, black is the color in this set that cares about both research and Undercover. creature is cast from somewhere other than a hand, get a research counter. So the wording on that would probably take after Draneth, whatever, Magistrate. Cast spells from anywhere other than. Whenever a player casts a creature spell from anywhere other than their hand, you get a research counter. That's probably the wording that we want. All right. And the reason that we don't want this to just be like a hate card that you're using, you know, just when your opponent's doing it. We want you to be able to build around it yourself because it's advancing your plan, and you can't have a hate card. You can't make your plan contingent on something else that the opponent is doing. Or you can, but it's not generally very good. So we want to make sure that you can enable this as well as your opponent. The card probably needs to do something else at uncommon. I agree. So, I mean, you could use this to kill an opposing morph and then get some upside out of it. But then that does sort of bring this back to the problem where, like, you really need your opponent to be having Undercover to make it work. So maybe that's not as helpful. But even, they'll usually have a creature that you can kill with it, even if it's not a morph. As long as you have 6 or more research counters effect. Okay. As long as you have 6 or more. Okay, so you're studying basically the undercover creatures. And so the research that you produce from this should do something also sort of based on that. Okay, so I take it this Wynn's idea here is something different. As long as you have 6 or more research counters, creatures you control have menace. You could be reverse engineering their disguises and using that to make yourself a little bit sneakier. Seems reasonable. All right. Black Summon Legend 0/0 counts as a horror shadow. Flanking this creature enters the battlefield with 3+1+0 counters and a +0/+2 counter. So I take it that you're just you're trying to use the case files here with like old mechanics, and that's reasonable because that is actually a large part of what we're trying to do. Although it is very confusing to use both archaic wording on the counts as a horror shadow and the old flanking mechanic and +1/+0 counters and a +0/+2 counter. That just feels like a lot for one card. When instead, it could be a 3/2. As long as you have 6 or more research counters, spells you cast from anywhere other than your hand cost 1 less to cast. That makes sense. Pretty good. Idea is it is a time-traveling Phyrexian, maybe. Okay, interesting. With Volcarine, I had another case file idea. Okay. While we are talking about case files, I need to note these ideas down as we make them, or I will forget. Creature, Phyrexian. I guess it would just be. You want me to call it Summon Legend? Counts as a horror shadow with flanking. All right, and then what Volcarine says 0/4. Okay. Whenever card name is dealt damage, it gets +4/+0 until end of turn at last strike. That's pretty interesting. See, that's a cool idea. One mechanically cohesive card, not 6 old mechanics in a trench coat. Oh, just a horror. It has shadow. Okay. Actually, I have a bean bunch. It's better to put them somewhere as a whole. You know, if you want to drop those on the Discord, I can probably try and pick them up from there. I've been trying to keep an eye on at least this channel and make sure that I'm keeping up with everything that people are posting. Okay. Excellent. Okay, so I guess maybe we should pick a mechanic that we have in our set, and we should try and make the commons for it. You know, every mechanic usually has somewhere from 2 to 4 commons in each color that it's in. So we can make sure that we have some interesting designs for each of those. So we've got Undercover, Raid, Exploit, and Knowledge. So I guess pick a mechanic, and we can start working on making cards for that mechanic. And that'll help us slowly whittle our way through the commons, which can always be sort of a bit dull. Wind, that is a pretty cool idea. A creature that has indestructible as long as you control another untapped creature. White for a 0/1. That is actually pretty cool. I like that. Feels like an uncommon. And it'll probably have to be named something else. Like, it's not flavorfully just a small child. This has to be a freaky small child. But yeah, that's a good idea, Wind. I like that. Let's do Undercover. That's the exciting one. Makes sense. All right. So Undercover is in every color, but it is focused in black and green. So let's start with black and green. And commons. Oh, I was in white. There we go. Okay. So I'm thinking we either need to have a big one at common in either black or green. So I guess green tends to be bigger creatures. So yeah, let's make like the big green creature at common be Undercover. This needs to have a curly Q. There we go. No, that didn't do it. Maybe that's what it needs to have. There it is. Okay. Black should get a Manticore. Works for me. In the main skeleton or in the case files? Ah, yes, wind. I remember that design. Let me put that in here. It feels blue. Okay. One more since I'm still in game. Grim Portrait, 2 black, black artifact. Okay. I know you guys can't see this, but I am typing these ideas down in a separate file. Whenever your life total would become 0 or less, it becomes 1 instead, and you put an age counter on card name. Whenever card name leaves the battlefield, you lose 4 life for each age counter on it. Interesting. Manticore is in. When this enters the battlefield, destroy target creature that was dealt damage. Oh, so you just mean the mechanical. Got it. Okay. I was thinking you meant the creature type Manticore, but just mechanically doing the same thing. So it's like a picture of Dorian Gray. It would make for a nice reference in the case files. Ooh, got it. Okay. I like that reference, Wheat Volkerin. That's a good one. That's probably at least a rare if it can prevent you from losing the game as long as it's still on the battlefield. Okay. Let's see. They're not a popular shorthand, but they printed that effect most recently on Manticore. Yep, that's a good call. Okay, so let's see. Black one, or yeah, so let's go with the green one. I think this is probably just like a big burly creature, right? I mean, you can think of the one from Khans of Tarkir, which was like a 6/7 for 7 that you could flip up for 6. This doesn't have to be quite that. It could probably be just like a 6/6 or even a 6/5. It wouldn't be bad if we made our creatures have lower toughness than power, simply because they're coming back, and so we want them to be able to die easily so that it's not just a board stall all the time. So let's say a 6/5, and I mean, 4 green green for a 6/5 is eh, but if you get to play it as a 2/2 first, it's pretty good. Nijugo saying a 7/7 for 6. A Vorstkla. You guys are both liking 7/7. Okay. You don't get a 7/7 trample for 6 at common in standard level sets. I guess we haven't really defined whether this is I guess premier is the terminology they're using yet. We haven't really determined whether it's a premier set or not. But if it's going to be a 7/7 trample at common and green, it needs to be at least 7 mana. I don't know what it would cost. That's fine. I mean, that's not too bad. That makes it kind of like, yes, it's scary when it comes back, but it does take a lot longer for it to come back. And Jugo says, no trample, just big. I do kind of stand by it having a little bit less toughness, but I could see it being a 7/6. No abilities, other than Undercover, obviously. And this has to be something big and horrifying. What is a giant creature that could manifest as a human? Oh, stream delay. Okay. How do I fix that? I have no idea. I guess I could try stopping and starting again. Maybe a snake? Some kind of giant snake? That feels like something that would happen. Has to be undercover, though. Yeah. I mean, it would be disguised as a human somehow. We can flavor it however we want, and we could put the flavor down here. But you're right. Usually, you would want it to be something more sapient that can think for itself and actively disguise itself. What if it's a house monster? Monster that pretends to be a house. Okay, so it's a 2/2 while it's pretending to be a house? You don't know. Okay, that's fine. I mean, we also don't necessarily have to flavor it right now. We could... Honestly, I mean, we got the mechanical design of the car. We can put the flavor on later. Four walls, a roof, and a floor. Are you talking about, like, creature type? And then give black a manticore. Okay, so black gets a manticore. So this feels like mana value. Oops. Supposed to go to commons. Mana value like 4. Undercover. Weird. Why is this not triggering? When it enters the battlefield, destroy targets. Creature, destroy. Should it be up to 1? I'm not sure how they word it. Let's look up Manticore. Ah, target creature and opponent controls. I can spell. Can we bring back Night Stalkers? Let me take a look at what Night Stalkers are. They were a type from Portal. They don't have any particular mechanic that is common to them. They're just a bunch of black common creatures. Oh, one of them's rare. And then this is Creature Horror Assassin. That makes sense. Assassin? Is Night Terrors a card? It is, but Night Terror is not. Good enough. Pretty sure. Yeah, it was from Innistrad, so. I'm really not good with like naming and flavoring things. I'm more good at the mechanical aspect, or at least I like to think I am. Okay, for some reason this does not want to keyword undercover. Okay, just a glitch. Silly glitch. What about a Dragon's Teeth-esque case file? That could work. I will note down the idea. All right. So we got one black and one green common undercover card. We want at least one more for each, maybe even up as many as two more. I put a bunch of case files in the Discord. Excellent. Then I will take a look at that later on. Oh, I see them. Excellent. I can add those to our case file set skeleton. Okay, so at common, do we want to have undercover cards that are not creatures? Do we want to reserve that for uncommons and rares? Feels like we could reserve it for just special cards. I think we can have 1 to 2 at like in black and green at common, or okay. Gotcha. I mean, I guess it would be in black and green. Okay. So then let's try and make an interesting one of those. What would be a non-creature that you would want to cast later from exile? A common or uncommon? More as creatures, but a few non-creatures. Okay. Regrowth. I was thinking, not quite regrowth, but getting back a creature from the dead. So whatever the black version is. So yeah, we could do a regrowth. Cantrip card filter. That's probably what we would do, right? Mirari, a legendary artifact that can go undercover. Yeah, well, we're not trying to. While the case files might have some stuff from old blocks, we're not trying to go too in depth on the like time travel back to old Magic set stuff. So it wouldn't be the Mirari, but we could potentially do a legendary artifact. All right, so this would be a spell with undercover. Gotta be a sorcery. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. That's it, nice and simple. What basic artifact would go undercover? That feels like you would have an android, like a mechanical man that's masquerading as a real man. Yeah, Nijugo, what Volcarine was just saying, like, not a legendary, like a common. Oh, but you're saying non-creature. That is a good point. Let's see, we have spaces at common for Mana Rock, land fetching or fixing, equipment, and 3 creatures. Yeah, I got what you were saying with Volcarine. Undo common non-creature artifact with undercover. I think you're right. I think a creature makes sense, like I was saying, but I'm not sure about a non-creature artifact. Because anything that I can think of that would do that is more like rare or mythic level of coolness, you know, like an artifact that, you know, sort of illusions a creature into being there, and that's how it's masquerading as a 2/2. Sort of messing with people's heads, hypnotizing them, however you want to describe it. But I can't think of anything that's just like common level. Sorry, my hair looks weird. That's a little better. All right. So back to this guy. I'm so bad at flavoring stuff. So, why can a regrowth spell masquerade as a human? What does that... What flavor is that? Feels like it has a mind of its own. Call it animating presence. I mean, it's better than what I have, which is literally nothing. Animating presence. Ghosts, unseen forces, and the like. That makes some sense. Although ghosts tend to be more white. White-blue, probably. I like that here. So it's sort of like the 2/2 is just like a ghostly figure that you can pass right through, and isn't very substantial. Once you kill it, it does its ghostly thing. There are green spirits. That is true. All right, I like that. That's cool. I guess one thing I also want to look up is in Khans of Tarkir, how many morph cards were there at common? 17. Two. They had 2 in each monocolor, plus an additional one in the 2 colors that cared about it, blue and green, plus the 5 that were 3 colored. So, yeah, I'd say 2 in each color plus a third one in black-green. That makes some sense to me. Just found this while going through some of my old sets. I had this keyworded as necromantic. When this card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, you may return it to your hand. If you do, you get a poison counter. Interesting. Riddles has 13, but 17 is fine with me. Oh, yeah. Although, based on Khans of Tarkir, like 5 of theirs are 3 colored cards because they had the cycle, and we don't have that. So if we're just doing 2 per color plus an extra 1 in black and green, plus probably one of the common artifacts, that only takes us to 14. Does that seem like a reasonable number? Okay, I think artifact creature. Oops. Mechanical Man. I was awful at making lands. Green, green, green for a land. Tap, add green for each swamp your opponents control. Yeah, I'm not sure. That doesn't tend to be how they design cards, but it's interesting at least. It's thinking outside the box, and that's something that can be hard to do. Oops, Mechanical Man. Oh, it also made 3 forest tokens. Yeah. It feels pretty complex. 4 mana value, 3/3. That's what I was thinking. And then I was like, that's so weak. But then I was forgetting that common artifact creatures are weak. That is the point of them. Is that they're available to any deck. And because they are, they can't be high picks. They just sort of have to fill that curve. And yeah, there's a sort of symmetry to it. You get a 2/2 for 3. You get a 3/3 for 4. This fills both those roles for you. Or we could go the other way, 1 mana value, 1/2. Wind, there is... I agree that we don't want to do that on this card, but there is something to that idea. We could have, like, a rare or a mythic that costs a lot, but it has a mana value, or, like, mana cost decreasing effect. And that means that, you could play it undercover, and then later on, you could build towards reducing that cost. Because that effect would still work from your hand or from exile. There is the free foretell card from Kaldheim. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. The Scarecrow. Yeah, but the difference being that foretell every foretell card has a cost, right? So you cast it for later for its foretell cost from exile. Undercover doesn't have that. You just cast it for its mana cost. So we can give it a cost reducing ability, but we don't need to introduce a bunch of new wording to do that on a common. Kaldheim could do that because costing 0 is just the same as making it cost a different card cost white, or a different card cost 1 and a blue. You're not going out of your way to make that common any more special or different. Whereas if we did that here, it's just like, why are we trying to make this common special? It's fulfilling its role right now. But yeah, I do like that idea for a rare or some such. Dumb robot is fine. Yeah, I think it makes sense. It's just an android trying to pretend he's human. What about this? Whenever Mechanical Man dies, create a 1/1 something token, like a tiny alien controlling it. That's kind of fun. What if that's our big creature? How big do these guys get? Be like a 4/5 for 6. Doesn't really fit the undercover slots. Still get 4 power for 4 mana, seems fair. It's an artifact. Artifact creatures are below curve at common. That does tend to be the case. Because being colorless, being able to cast a spell for colorless, means that spell can go in theoretically any deck. And that means you have to depower the card a little, because you're powering it up by giving everything more access to it. And if it's too powerful, everybody's going to be fighting for it, and it's just going to be a generically good card that goes in everything, and that's what we don't like. That's why artifact blocks tend to be the most pushed and broken in history, is because they're making all these artifacts that can go in any deck. You can build anything with this, and if they're broken, then they're broken in a lot of different decks. Obviously, a common is a little different. I like this idea. I'm thinking, what if we do it on something else? Like Brain Slug. Could be like a blue creature. It makes a pest token when it dies. It's like you're being controlled. I'm not sure where to put that exactly. Mandatory was only on a single card in a set I didn't finish, and only that card, and that card was a garden gnome. Black or blue seems like the color for brain slugs. I agree. I think black's pretty cool, or pretty good for that idea. Actually, that feels like something we might want to do at Rare or Mythic, so that we can give the token a little, like, its own ability that could do something pretty cool. Because, as is, if it's just when the creature dies, make a 1/1, it's kind of like Undercover. Except instead of, you know, getting to cast the spell later from exile, you're just getting a new creature now. Didn't black have Mind Maggot? I don't know if I know that card. Oh, I think I do know what you're talking about. Brain Maggot, yeah. From Journey into Nyx. Research payoff, you discover everyone has brain slugs, and then get to use the brain slugs. Okay, what about... Let's see. This feels like a blue uncommon. Enchant creature with mana value less than or equal to the number of research counters you have. You control enchanted creature. And then because it's so hard to make this work, it's going to be a cheap mind control, right? Four mana? Maybe 3. Yeah, I'm not sure, because it's like... Obviously, mind controls are really good. At present, they haven't been doing a lot of mind controls lately. I'll give them that. But I feel like the present ones are 5 mana, generally. For just no frills, 5 mana. So I feel like putting on a huge restriction like this, where you can only... You have to have research to make this work, feels like it could be as good as a 2 mana cost reduction. Yeah. Okay, well, I know that's not quite what you were suggesting with Volcarine, but I do like the direction that it went. Can we add sunglasses that allow you to look at face-down exiled cards? Flavor text, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Yes? Yes, we can. We don't have a slot for it at common at present, but we don't need 3 artifact creatures. Although, in Khans of Tarkir, there was the Lens of Clarity for 1 mana, and that wasn't very good. Mana Rock also does it. Yeah, I mean, we could make it a Mana Rock that also gives you that ability? Oh, that is what you're saying. Yeah, okay. That makes it a much better card than Lens of Clarity. Tap, add... Probably just colorless then. And then I guess static abilities should go above activated ability. You may look at face down cards. That way it'll be something that's... Because that effect is not worth a whole card, but it is an effect that's nice to have. Okay, face down... They've worded it as face down creatures you don't control. because obviously you can already look at ones that you do control. Yeah, but Lens of Clarity is bad. Why do we care that Shades is better? What I'm saying is I want this effect to be playable. I want to have a card that I'm excited to play, or at least happy to play, that lets me look at my opponent's face-down creatures. The problem with Lens of Clarity is that I wasn't happy to play it, but it was the way to get that effect. So it's like, it's a cool idea, but I'm never going to play this card because it's just a waste of a spell. But if I'm already playing a Mana Rock, then this is what I'm in the market for. Probably 3 mana. Yeah, that seems fine. Oops. Sneaky Shades. X-ray Shades is too futuristic. Shades of gray. Sneaky Shades. I could just go Sneaky Shades. Shades of Truth. I like that. Sort of feels like what, you know, the conspiracy theorist guy would use to seek out the truth. Shades of Observation. Reality? Shades of Observation is probably fine. Alright, good enough. That's a cool design. I like that. And I'm definitely leaving the flavor text on. Okay. So before this, we were doing... Yes. We were doing the Undercover cards, and we got distracted with Brain Slug, which is also a cool design. So, back to Undercover. We want 3 at common in black. Currently we have 1. Yeah, how about black and green each have a non-creature Undercover, and then everything else is just creatures at common. We want another green and 2 more black. Yeah. So we'll want 1 non-creature in black, and then 1 more creature. Ooh. How about the discard spell? The Mind Rot. Because Mind Rots, you usually want to hold until your opponent's down to 2 or 3 cards anyway. So it's not bad that you'll, like, it gives you something to use your Mind Rot on in the meantime. Do Mind Rots specify opponent? They don't. At least Mind Rot itself doesn't. Obviously 4 mana, just so it's, you know, a little bit more tame mana-wise. Generally, they do. Mind Rot doesn't, but Skull Ray does. Yeah, I guess Mind Rot probably doesn't just because it's such an old card that's been reprinted so many times. So, I guess the new templating would probably just be to say target opponent. And that's for ease of use on, like, Magic Online and Arena. You know, instead of having another trigger that lets you select yourself, if you only have 1 opponent, this just snap selects who it's supposed to because it only has 1 option. And that makes sense. So, like, you're not losing much equity by not being able to make yourself discard 2 cards. you almost never want to do that. And if you do, there's one with nothing. Play that. Okay, so I guess something to think about is that this also costs 4 on the back half, like Night Terror does, whatever we name this thing. So are we okay with there being 2 that have the same mana cost on top? Probably, as long as the actual creatures are different. Call it Shadowed Figure. Oh, right, I didn't name it. I like that. I think them both being 3 black is fine. Excellent. Yeah, as long as the other creature isn't 4, I think we're good to go. Yeah. Generally, I think you'll want like a wide range of costs. However, we want to make sure that there's that the creature is still worth playing. We don't want to just make something cost 1 just for the sake of making it cost 1. So if we can make something that's legitimately a fine 1-drop. Actually, there is a reason why you might want to play a 1-drop. We can give it lifelink, just cuz. But there's a sacrifice theme in black-red? Black-white? So this would just give you then 2 creatures to easily sacrifice. If the back half costs 1, then it's just easy to put it out and have something new. So I like that. It doesn't have to be lifelink. I mean, we could even just give it nothing, but that's not very good. Or we could have it... we could give it an ETB. Creatures without a type have Death Touch. Are you saying that that's a static ability that it would have? Or it could just be dies. Nah, just a random suggestion. Okay. Well, I mean, there definitely could be a market for just giving all colorless creatures an ability, all face-down creatures an ability, something like that. Like Secret Plans in Khans of Tarkir gave your face-down creatures +0/+1. And that was about the extent of it, but we could certainly do more. So there are different ways we could template it. We could just call out face-down creatures. We could say creatures without a creature type. We could say colorless creatures. Obviously, those each come with their own rules. Hijinks. Okay, do we like when this guy enters the battlefield, scry 1, or when he dies, scry 1? I feel like one of those is probably a pretty decent effect for this creature. Dies is fine. I think dies is more flavorful for black. Just when it enters the battlefield, it's a bit more like you get that utility now. Dies signals the aristocrat theme more. Good point. Okay. And this would just be a random cultist. 1 culty boy. Human cleric, I guess? Acolyte, maybe? Follower of, and then we can have the leader of our cult's name. Or a thrall/thrall. Yeah. What do we want? What do we want our big scary cult leader's name to be? Acolyte of Nesh. I don't know. That's the first thing I thought of. Kresh. Nope, Kresh is a creature. We don't have to name it right this second. Acolyte of 1 Scary boy. Placeholder. Excellent. Okay. So that'll do it for our black common undercover cards. I'm pretty happy with those. This one synergizes with our Aristocrats theme. This one sort of synergizes with itself, which is cool. This one's just a fun design. Need another green one. Yes. Please make one scary boy the actual name and don't mention where it came from. Oh, just make it Osp. Got it. Night Terror needs Flash. Night Terror definitely gets better with Flash. Does it need it, though? Because I was thinking the idea was just that you attack with your 2/2. And they'd be like, I guess I block. You know, they probably, your opponent blocks, kills it, even though your creature doesn't kill it. And then boom, you play your 3/2, and you kill whatever they blocked with, even though you didn't have enough power. Obviously, Manticore effects are worse when you don't have Flash, but the fact that this is a creature beforehand makes it a little better. All the Manticores in the past, 8 sets have had Flash. Yes, but have they all had bodies that can hit another creature first before you play it? So I guess what I'm saying is the Undercover is kind of serving as the Flash. If we want to give it Flash at that point, I do think we need to drop its power. Just because, we don't want this card to have everything. I know it is a placeholder name, but Night Terrors is a card, so it might be too close. Yes, it is a, how about Nightmare Stalker? That's probably a thing, too. That's real generic. Nightmare. There's a lot of things with Nightmare in the name. Okay, there's no Nightmare Stalker. Okay, we'll stick with that for now. Just wanted to make sure since I just joined. Yes! Sorry, you said, how's the stream going? Had to duck out a few minutes into the stream, but now I'm back. It is going good so far. We are working on our common undercover cards. So, in black, we have just a guy that when it's a 1/1 for 1, when it dies, you scry 1. And it has undercover. So, that's nice. It's helpful. It's good with the Aristocrats. Just gives you quick bodies. We have a Manticore, that is a creature that when it enters the battlefield, destroy an opposing creature that was dealt damage this turn. We were trying to decide whether or not to give it Flash. And we have Mind Rot. For the second green creature, how about a Dork? Interesting. Yeah, we could do a Dork. What do we want its stat line to be? Yeah, 2 mana value is what I was thinking. If we were to go 1 mana value, it has to be like a 0/1. Because otherwise it's just too good. But even then, that's kind of pushing it. 1/3 for 2. Tap, add. Do we want to have it add any color? Do we want to have it add black just to be flavorful? Do we want to have it add green just because that's how green do sometimes? 1/3 is the classic 2 mana value Dork. You know it. I feel like we also could consider making it a worse than usual stat line just because it's already a 2/2 for 3. Any color, spend that mana only to cast spells from places other than your hand. Okay, well, if we're going to limit it like that. Add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast spells from places other than your hand. I mean, that seems reasonable. It's obviously not going to be very helpful for other things. But, I mean, we'll have other stuff in the case file slot that probably casts from... And we'll probably have something cast from your graveyard. We can probably make this work. Seems interesting, at least. How much does places other than your hand matter if the primary undercover cards are green-black? A 1/3 conditional mana dork feels really weak even if it can undercover. Yeah, I mean, there's still 2 common undercovers per color. Yeah, it's just like usually at common you'd be getting a mana dork that can tap for anything. And not maybe any color, but at least tap to be able to do anything. And so, since you're in the same colors as undercover, that would include undercover, is what Pie Guy is saying. Helps with the 5-color morph stack. Well, assuming, yeah, I guess doing a 5-color morph stack could be cool. Mana dork that doesn't ramp you early in the game really hurts. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree that it might be better as a generic ramper. So we could just do it like that. Like a 1/3 for 2 that taps to add a green is what you would usually get in a set. So giving it undercover, I feel like I'm justified in taking something away, like maybe a stat. Compare Careful Harbinger. I forget which one that is. Yes. 1/3 for 2, tap to add blue. Spend this mana only to foretell a card from your hand or cast an instant or sorcery spell. Yeah, it is a bit different because green gets mana ramp for any purpose. Blue's mana ramp tends to be only based on artifacts or for using instant or for casting instants and sorceries. It's usually restricted. And then this also has undercover. So I think that's another thing that makes this card better than Careful Harbinger. If this was an uncommon and added 2 mana, I would like it a lot more with that restriction if I make him a 1/2 edgy. I think it's reasonable. Yeah, I mean, we could go both ways with it, but yeah, I don't know if there's a whole lot that's added from restricting it. All right, so we got a mana dork. We had our big guy. He's just a big dude. 7/6 for 6 that can become like an undercover. Seems reasonable. And then we have return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Is also undercover. So those are our 3 green ones, and we did our 3 black ones. So we got 3 colors left: white, blue, and red, and each one wants 2 creatures. Call the dork Mystic of Ozb. Okay, am I spelling out one scary boy, or is it just OSB? Ozb. Okay. The Wonderful Wizard of Ozb. This is our secret pact. Well, you know this is going to get posted to YouTube, right? Not too many people watch it, but sometimes when people miss the stream, they skim. So they might find it. I guess I could cut that part out of the video, but that just feels like a lot of work. Okay. Secret pact on low view VOD. Yeah, I mean it is. But it's almost no work for me to upload it, so I figure, why not? And people have watched it. More people than I suspected or expected. So, seems like it was worth it. White, 3/4 flyer for 5. Yeah, that seems perfectly reasonable. Oops. Oh, I am in the uncommons. Hold on. There we go. I sometimes watch sections of the VOD if I missed parts. Yeah, that makes sense. For the first one, I was able to label the different sections so that it's easy to find what you're looking for. But the rest of the streams is not easy. You know, there's not a distinct, here we did this, and here we did this, and here we did this. It's just all sort of flowing. So, unfortunately, I can't make it too much easier for people to find what they're looking for. By the way, was there a consensus on what faction is what colors, and do they involve monogamous creature types? We know that the organization, the institute, whatever you want to call it, the one that's doing the research containing these monsters, is white, blue, and black. We have that. Aside from that, there's not a lot of consensus on even what the story is in general. Like the organization is all Vidalcans in disguise. Oh, creature types. Fair point. No, only settled sapient creature types are human and mutant. Yes. And of course, mutant isn't really a creature type on its own. It has to mutate from something. So that makes it less helpful because it would, most of them would probably evolve from humans. Osborne has Osb as the first 3 letters. That's a good point. Maybe his full name is Osborne. You've solved the mystery. Flock of hands. Normal birds. I mean, we need that joke in there somewhere, right? That all the birds are secretly spies. How exactly does a flock of hands hide? I mean, I'm not sure how a flock of birds masquerades as a normal person either. From a distance. We'll figure it out. But that's one of our undercover spells in white. They get a trench coat. Oh, lifelinker? Does that seem reasonable for a white creature? Or it could be not just a keyword ability because we already have flying. It could be something more interesting than that. What would be? It could be like an enter the battlefield effect. There are a few creatures that are only mutants, like Biomancer's Familiar, but it is not the norm. Fair point. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really check my facts before I said that, but I guess just... yeah. I mean, we could do simply mutants. We don't necessarily have to specify what they mutated from. We can do what we want. In fact, if it hasn't been done before, that just makes it more interesting and unique. Enchantment Regrower. Okay, that seems reasonable. Return target enchantment from your graveyard to your hand. I actually want it to hit artifacts because blue cares about artifacts. So we could make it artifact or enchantment or just artifact. You're right. It would be card. Then make it artifact. Okay. And it has Undercover. Scout, maybe. And then cost 3. What would that be? Like a 2/3? What is that? What Trusty Pack Beast is? Let me take a look. Return target artifact card from your graveyard to hand. That is literally Trusty Pack Beast. So adding Undercover, let's just give it, take away a step. Don't know why this keeps glitching this way. You're suggesting 3/1. Okay. Well, I do think it's better if more creatures trade off with morphs, because that means that there are going to be fewer board stalls. So, yeah, 3/1 seems fine. Yeah, I like that. We don't want a ton of 1/3s. Yes, you are right about that. I can get behind 3/1 as some tension between undercovering it or getting aggro. Yeah, you're right. That's a good point, because playing a 2/2 for 3 is not aggro. I mean, there are times it'll win you the game if your opponent just has nothing. But yeah, 3/1 for 3 is not super aggro, but it can definitely get the job done a lot quicker. So I think you're right, Pie Guy. That's a good reason. Is that a 1/3 is defensive, a 2/2 is sort of in the middle. But yeah, I think there's a bigger disparity between 3/1 and the undercover than between 1/3 and undercover. So good call. Blue undercover, enter the battlefield, draw a card. That's a great idea. Feels like a 3-mana value creature. Two or 3. Yeah, I don't think... Have they done a straight-up Elvish Visionary in blue yet? 1/1 for 2, ETB draw a card? I don't remember any, but I know that I have designed it for a few different sets because I feel like it should happen. So then, like, if we're also giving it undercover, I want to make sure that it's costed appropriately. It just does not want to work. All right. 2/2. Creature. There's Alchemist's Apprentice. From Avacyn Restored. Ah, yes, where you sacrifice it to draw a card. Yeah. And that's not bad, but it's not as good as enter the battlefield, draw a card. So what are we thinking? I guess we don't want it to be a 2/2 for 3 because you can already undercover it as a 2/2 for 3. That's not much of much tension between the choices. Fibblethip is an Elvish Visionary with extremely niche bonus clauses. You are right about that. That's a good point. 2/1 for 3. Seems reasonable. Yeah, again, it's not super different than this, but 2/1 for 3 with flying. Ooh. If it has flying, I think we need to take away 1 power. I think we need to make it a 1/1 for 3. Because, like, Cloud Concealer was a 2/1 flying for 3 that drew a card, and that card was great. And then just having the option to also make a 2/2 beforehand, that's a lot of value. Just a 2/1 for 3. Yeah, I mean, so there's still not a lot of dichotomy between the two different modes of casting this card. So it's really just going to be, do you need the card now? If you don't, you're always undercovering it. Which is fine. Just something to be aware of. I think that's okay for a common. Okay. Yeah, I think power-wise, this is fine. If we gave it flying, we'd definitely have to drop a power. Okay, so then we get one more creature, probably something that's just more of a static ability, like ward or flying. Although we have a white flyer. Could be unblockable. Four ward 2. That sounds like a 5 drop. Or a 6 drop. Sure. Oops. Apologies. Seems like ward is here to stay, so we may as well start trying to use it instead of hexproof. Thank you, Witvolkerin. Although, you never know. They tried out prowess for several sets before deciding it wasn't going to work. 4 blue. What about a large sea creature? That's what I was just trying to think, because usually the like 6 or 7 drop common blue card is a sea creature that has defender unless some condition. So I was trying to see if we could fit that in somehow. 6/7 for 7 that can't attack unless you have a card in exile or some other can't attack clause. Hey, just got back from dinner with the family. Hello, Gunblade. How are you doing tonight? Sea creature that can't attack is research. Thank you, Najugo. That's a good idea. How far have you gotten? Well, we're an hour and a half in. We haven't made too much progress, but we're working on the undercover cards at common. So we're doing 2 in each color, except a 3rd one in black and green, which are the main colors focusing on undercover. Yes. I'm more fond of ward or shroud than hexproof. It's objectively better, but also just boring. I agree with Volkerine, and it's very strong, which is why they've been trying to... I think this was why they tried to find the replacement in ward. I do agree. We could make this, like, a big creature. 7/7. 5/5 for 6. Oh, is that how you work on sets? I tend to go color by color. You know, Gunblade, I've done it different ways. I don't really have one specific strategy. I figured it would be easier to start with what are the undercover creatures that we want at common, and then we can build around that. I think that helps build a framework, but I also, I don't know. I tend to just say things. Yeah, ward is interactive. Hexproof is not. Shroud is not interactive at all, which is more fair, because you can't make your creature stupid broken. Okay, so if this isn't the undercover creature, and this is a sea creature, Or it could be an undercover and a sea creature. Okay, but we said it can't attack unless you have some research. 3 or more research counters. Loch Ness reference. Thank you. Obviously, yeah, that's a great idea. This one could have ward, and that could sort of represent that now you see it and now you don't. It should be bigger. I agree. I'm not sure how big they do their commons. Rarity, common set. I'll go with... So they got like a 6-5 for 6, 6-6 for 6, 4-4 for 5, 4-5-5. Ah, I was thinking Striped Riverwinder, but that's a 5-5 for 7 because it has hexproof. So, yeah, I can afford to make it a little bit beefier. They can get bigger now, at least in green. A big blue creature would have some major downside. Yes. Downside being, can't attack unless you got something. Riverwinder also doesn't have a downside. Oh, you're right. This has a downside. Yeah. Good call. In my mind, I was just comparing all of the different serpents, common blue 6 and 7 drop serpents, but I wasn't taking into account that not all of them have a downside. Kiora's Dambreaker is 6 mana, 5/6 with Proliferate on enter the battlefield. Yeah, with no downside. Okay, we can get more aggressive. 6/7, Ward 2. For 6. Yeah, this seems reasonable. And it is a serpent. Nessie! Oops. That was meant to be an exclamation point. Cool. I think that's pretty good. Seems solid. Do we want it to have undercover though? Well, it started out as our undercover creature, but once we wanted to make it the sea creature, I figured that didn't all fit along with undercover. So I think we want to do a different one. Do we want to do like unblockable? Call this Lock Serpent. Oh, that's true. We could just... The 1-mana creature that gets a benefit if cast from exile. Najuga, are you saying that's dumb to my unblockable creature idea with Undercover, or to the 1-mana creature that gets a benefit cast from exile? Because I like Gunblade's 1-mana benefit if cast from exile. Oh, Lock Serpent. Oh, you're to your own suggestion. But yeah, that feels like a case file thing. I'll put that in our case files. Benefit when cast from exile. Lock Serpent is dumb. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a final name, but it at least gets across what we're working with, what the creature represents. Okay. Okay. Okay, let me try this. Rumored Serpent. That's a better name. Agreed. So 1 mana value Undercover could be played early, or you could cast it Undercover for a better creature. And Wheat Volcarine says, I like Gunblade's idea on a regular Undercover card as long as it's not too rewarding. Okay. We can make that the red 1-drop so it incentivizes you to cast it face down first, because red is aggro. Okay. So you're saying it tells you, it gives you a benefit when you cast from exile. So like, and then it could just be like a 1/1 for 1. Something like that. But if you just need a creature to start attacking with, suiting up with equipment, whatever. It doesn't have to be this effect. If you guys have a better idea, I'm certainly open to it. But, I mean... Oh, yeah. That makes sense. No. Stop it. Oh, I did it wrong. That's why. Okay. Is it too strong to have a 1 mana 2/1 can't block with Undercover? With all the morphs running around, a 2/1 trading with him isn't terrible. Yeah, Wheat Volcarine, turns out I was at fault. I went TEB, so then it decided. But let's see. I guess my question is it worth it? Stop it. Is it worth it to make the distinction? I guess 3 damage to a player is a lot when this enters. Like, if this were just a 1/1 for 2, I would say have it deal 2 to an opponent when it enters. But we could just have it do that. Enter the battlefield, deals 2 damage. And then, even if you play it from exile later, you get it. I guess what you're saying is you're trying to incentivize them not to get aggro with it and to just play the 2/2 for 3. So there's the dichotomy between going fast and going slow. 2/1 can't block, doesn't trade with Undercover. It can only attack, and the opponent gets to decide. That's a good point. I'm going to get some more water. I will be right back and ponder. Ponder. Serum Vision. And the art is someone offering you a syringe. No, thank you. I don't do drugs. Except ibuprofen. I don't know. I guess this seems like a fine creature. It does sort of help you. It's odd because red wants to get aggro. It wants to play this as a 1/1 and deal 3 to the opponent, but it can't, so it has to play an inefficient creature first, have that die. Then, for 1 mana, it can get a 1/1 and hit you for 3. You want a 1 mana, scry 4, no draw. I mean, that seems reasonable. They're just wary of doing scry too many cards, but I think that's a fine card. I don't think it would cause problems. Do we want to try it? Do we want to put it in here just for funsies? Instant or sorcery? Probably sorcery. What about a 0/1, enter the battlefield, scry 4 in the case files? It's not a bad thought. Is it weird enough to be a case file? Not that everything has to be super out there. Case files need something more wacky or iconic. Or is that a case file? It's a pretty normal effect. I mean, at that point, we could make it 0/1, enter the battlefield, scry 4. For, just here in blue. Right here. And Jugo says, I just want an Optivariant where you scry 4. Yeah, I mean, obviously, putting it into this set doesn't make it a card that you can play wherever you're wanting to play it. So I don't know if this actually counts as wish fulfillment for you, because it's nothing official. It is a fairly normal effect, and I admit it is on the fringe of weird enough. Yeah, I agree. It's like, it is more weird. Like, it's not what many creatures do, so it is a little weird. I want to print an Optivariant where you scry 4. Okay. I was just trying to understand what you were saying. If you wanted them to make one, or if you were just wanted us to make one, something like that. All right, well, okay, what were we doing? I had just been trying to rearrange these guys. Yeah, so I was like, what if we made the 3 mana value undercover creature unblockable? And then we made the 5 mana one draw you 2 cards. So it's kind of like a Muldrifty, but obviously has undercover. Do we like that? Are we still good with the stat line? Does it need to change at all? Do you want it to go back to the way it was? I guess this one's also a 2/1, so that's kind of redundant. Maybe make this like a 2/3, which is better for the controlling decks because it stands up to morphs, but it is a 5 mana 2/3 at that point. That draws you 2 cards. Undercover CBB should be a 1/1. CBB? Can't be blocked. Should be a 1/1. Got it. Okay. Should it be a 1/1 for 1? Or is... definitely not 3. So that would be 2 mana, I guess, at that point. Oh, this is a 2 mana value creature. It isn't getting in combat. 3 mana value one could probably be a 2/2 just to not look as underpowered. 1 versus 2 toughness is not a big deal in this set. It can't be blocked. It isn't getting in combat. Phantom Warrior. Ooh, okay, so Phantom Warrior is an uncommon. It's a 2/2 unblockable for 1 blue. Granted, it is an older uncommon, M10. So there's definitely been some power creep since then, which they try and rein it back. All I'm saying is they used to design creatures a little weaker. Don't power creep it, please. I try not to power creep. I mean, you guys have been telling me to make the creatures a bit beefier all night. So I want you to know that I try and keep it pretty restrained. But I also, I will say, Phantom Warrior is an uncommon. Creatures like that tend to be uncommons, with that efficient of an unblockable stat line. Often, the common creature is only unblockable under certain conditions. Oh, how about this? I guess that's still undercover, so it's a little... it's fine. Let's try this. 2/3. Did I cut it? Yeah, okay. Can't be blocked as long as you've cast a colorless spell this turn. Because red-blue cares about colorless. Okay, is it this that's messing it up? That's what it is. For some reason, card name just messes this up and makes it not want to spell out the text. That's weird. There's nothing there. Okay. I like it, and I don't hate that. That sounds like a success, so I'm good with that. Oh, see? Look at this. Whatever. So we got that. Yeah, I was just thinking most of the common unblockable creatures are always you do a condition. You cast a non-creature spell in Dragons of Tarkir. You draw 2 cards in a turn. So, cool. Glad we are on board with that. This one, now I've made them both 2/3s. But we don't want them to have the same stats. So what do you think? Should this be a 2/2? Should it go back to being a 2/1? At that point, I feel like it's a little weak for being 3 mana. So we could just make it 2 mana, though. How about that? 2/1 for 2 mana. Then we can just call this 3 mana value creature. Or, Pie Guy suggests making this a 3/3 for draw 2. How do we feel about that? Is that fair? It's like a divination plus a 3/3. So blue usually gets 3/3s for 4 with some upside. So we'll say 3.5. And it gets divination for 3. So that's 3 and 3.5 mana, and then you usually add mana to put 2 cards in one. So that's 7.5 mana total of value. I like the 2/1 at 2 mana value. That way you can curve out. Yes, Pie Guy, that's a good point. Making this 2 mana, you can always play it turn 2, turn 3, play your morph creature, and then boom, you're good to go. And this also goes with artifact spells in the white-blue deck. It can go with white-black, or it can go with black or green, with morphs, or obviously any color. Hey, I won one. Yes. Okay. Thank heavens. Okay. Cool. So that one, 2-1 for 2. Excellent. This one, 2-3 for 5. That still seems reasonable. Maybe it's a little strong stat-wise, but, I mean, comparing it to Muldrifter, one of the strongest blue commons of all time, it seems perfectly tame, right? All right, that's good enough. Let's do the other red undercover creature like you guys were talking about. Okay, so we got our 1-drop that can hit the opponent in the face. So we want something a little different, like maybe a 4-drop. Four is also important because if you play your 3-drop and then you trade it off, you can instantly play this. So 4 mana undercovers are something to be thinking about. We could give it fire breathing. Ooh, a destroy artifact effect. There is going to be an artifact sub-theme in the set in white-blue. So 4/3 can't attack alone. Okay, that's pretty cool. Obviously, 4/3 for 4 can't attack alone is in and of itself a pretty bad card. Usually you'd get that effect for 3 mana, but since you have Undercover first, it's like you're getting an extra creature out of the deal. But it could still block alone, which is important, because it can block morphs profitably. How do we feel about that? Does that make sense? It seems okay. Is it a bit lackluster? Yeah, but honestly, that's sort of how the undercover creatures should be, because you're getting extra value. Alternatively, 4/3 attacks each turn if able. That way it can swing into morphs on its own, but if you want to block, you need to play it face down. I like the way you're thinking, Pie Guy. Are we going to put a Pull from Eternity in this set? I feel like a variant would be good. Yeah, as a general rule, I try to avoid Pull from Eternity effects because it sort of defeats the whole purpose of Exile. But because of the incredible weirdness of the case file slot, I think we'll want to have a case file that can do that. Yeah, Najugo said it. Yep, maybe in the archives. Because, like, the graveyard was where stuff went when it died. And then they started making cards that cared about the graveyard and brought stuff back from the graveyard. And they're like, oh, fine, we need a place where cards can go that they're gone forever. So they made Exile. And that's Exile. So if we, like, make cards that bring it back from there, what do we need to make a removed from the freaking game forever zone? So, yeah, I think trying to refrain from those sorts of effects is a good idea. But obviously even Wizards does it on occasion. It's just, you got to be real careful with it. Okay, Pie Guy, I like your idea. It's, again, that dichotomy of more defensive creature, more offensive creature. What you want. With these cards being face down from Undercover, it is really hard to interact with them in ways that don't break things or are incredibly strange. Yeah, that's a good point, because, like, you could be targeting something, and if it has a condition on it, you don't know whether this face-down exiled card meets that condition or not. So I guess you just have to not put any conditions on those cards, which Pull from Eternity doesn't have any, so it would be fine. But still, it is something interesting to think about. There was that Mind Rot for Adventures, but it only worked well because it was able to specifically call out adventures. Right, so they can just make sure that you know, it's fair with all the adventures in the set, and it doesn't mess up anything elsewhere. Oh, Pull from Eternity only hits face up itself. Okay, never mind. I forgot what the card did. I should have looked it up. That makes sense. I guess they thought of the same thing too, which is like, if it's exiled face down, how does that work? So they thought of it. Okay, that's cool. Yes, it was in Time Spiral. So it, I mean, your opponent could spend some mana, wait 4 turns, and then before your thing's about to come down, back in your hand. No, actually, graveyard. Goes to the graveyard. How about that? I guess that's also probably how they justified it, is it's not putting it in your hand, it's putting it in the graveyard. Some kind of rioter, right? Riotera. Okay, so that's 2 red ones. That's 2 blue ones. Is that... Did we do all of them? We did. We got all the commons done, all 14. How about that? We're amazing. So, let me just double check. Undercover. Okay. Yep. White one that brings back an artifact. White one that flies. Unblockable sometimes. Draw 2 cards. When it dies, grant 1. Manticore effect. Mind Rot effect. Hit the opponent for some damage. Although, again, it doesn't have to be that effective. People want something different. Must attack each turn if able. Ramps. Just big dude. Cover and... yeah, so we got them all done. I'll have to bow out. Have a nice stream. Thank you so much for your contributions, Sweet Volkarine. We appreciate it. Okay, well, with that done, we can either start trying to just fill out the commons, or we can move on to another keyword and start putting it on stuff. What do you guys want to do? Because we still have research counters, we have exploit, and we have riot. Not riot. Raid. Raid is in red, green. Exploit is in blue, no, black. Red? And maybe white? Yes. We talked about black, red, white. And research is in white, blue, black. I guess I'm most interested next in research, because that is our other, like, premier mechanic. Raid and exploit are great, but they're not as much what we built the set around. But research counters are a little harder, because it's not just like a mechanic that is modular. You can't just slap it on one creature and say, okay, good to go. You know, you need to make sure that there's the right levels of it so that you can have enough research counter cards to get to your payoffs, but not so many that it's just really easy to get research, you know? Well, white always has a conditional, white usually has 3 removal spells. One of them is often either conditional, like destroy creature with power 4 or greater, or it's unconditional, which is just like exile target creature. I figured we would have something like that that's flavored as containing a creature and you get a research counter. 1 counter and 1 payoff in each color. That seems reasonable. We might need more than just 1 way to get a counter in each color, but only time, like, we'd have to play a test to be able to tell. And for the ones focused on it, an additional card that does both. Yeah. So, I'm not sure, are we doing research in red-green at all? Or is it just in white, blue, black? Completely contained. Research is not in red-green at all. That's what I was thinking. Research counters are going to be more local to their colors than Undercover, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so maybe we do like 2 cards that give research counters in for each, like for white, blue, and black, obviously, and then 1 payoff for each of those. So a dispatch for research counters. Costs 1 less for each research counter you have. Yeah, we could either make it a threshold or a scaling. So it could be like 4 and a white. Exile target creature. Sorcery. Or we could make it more like Dispatch, where it's 1 mana instant. Tap target creature, but if you have 3 or more research counters, just exile it instead. So, do you guys have a preference between the two? Although Dispatch is an uncommon, I don't know if we care too much if this is uncommon or uncommon. Although I was thinking, actually, this feels like it steps a bit on the toes of, we wanted the pacifism to be the containment one, I guess. So it's like enchant creature. You'd have to do more research counters if it's a common dispatch. I agree with you. Or just like more mana to cast it, maybe. But I guess if you're paying more mana to just tap a creature, that's real bad. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature can't attack or block. And at some point in here, I think it's here, when this card ETB, you get a research counter. And then that's just going to be 2 and a black. Alright, 2 and a white. So I feel like this is good. Sure. Oh yeah, we do also have Dissect Disguise, which gives another research counter. So currently we do have 2 in white. I feel like there should also just be like a creature, you know? When it enters the battlefield. Research. That's probably a blue creature though, huh? Or it could even just be a 1/1 for 1. Oops. Do we want to try and have the majority of these cards both create and benefit from research counters like energy, or are we going for more of an A plus B feel of generators and payoffs? I think we're doing more A plus B. I assume that we will have some uncommons, rares, mythics that do both, but for the most part, at least at common, I think we just need some cards give you a research counter, and then you're like, what do I use these for? And so you'll need to find some stuff that'll give them to you as well. Probably not even too many uses for them at common. Probably more the payoffs at uncommon. Unless anyone feels differently, feel free to make your thoughts known. I think that looks good. I was just trying to get a feel for the direction of the set. Yep, for sure. I love energy. I like the way it was designed. I know it had some problems, clearly. But yeah, we're definitely trying to make this one feel a little bit different. So you're not ever spending them. You're not getting a bunch of them on one card. Unless it's like, over time, maybe whenever this happens, you get a research counter once per turn. But it's not like you're going to just rake in a bunch at the same time and then just cash it all in to spin that wheel and get a free Ulamog. In that case, a saboteur that creates research counters would be good. That does sound good. Maybe a 3-mana 2/3. That's what I was thinking. How about that? The 2/3 stat line is so key here to get past undercovers. I agree. And we don't want too many 2/3s. I guess 1/3 is the real problem because they can't trade either way. But we don't want too many 2/3s, but since it's trying to get past undercovers, I like giving it stats that beat them. Target non-land permanent, there we go, to its owners. And you get a research counter. 1 and a blue. Instant. I could see a design where it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less and is a 2/2, but that seems needlessly complex. I agree with you there. Yeah, and it is interesting because for Undercover, your opponents may want their creatures to die. So even if their creature is going to lose combat, they may just block you because they want access to the back face of that card. And they stall you for a little bit. So that does create more interesting moments where, both players have decisions to make. Whereas if they can't block, obviously there's no decision to be made. Okay. Seems reasonable. Just throwing, you get a research counter onto random spells that would normally be in a set, at common at least, is a good way to go. What if the bounce spell instead is a payoff by being 3 mana value and put it on top of its owner's library if you have 3 or more research counters? That's kind of cool. It is a regular bounce spell if you don't have the counters. Yeah. Yeah, I was just trying to figure out the best way to word it. I think putting the if you have 3 or more counters thing first actually makes the most sense. But yeah, otherwise return that creature to its owner's hand. At 3 mana value, it's a pretty bad bounce spell. So at that point, maybe you could have it hit a non-creature permanent. Or we could just have it be 2 mana. Although, I mean, once you do have 3 research counters, that gets pretty good. But it is the payoff for what you're building around. That's why you're playing these 1 mana 1/1s. So it might be okay at 2 mana. What do you think? Sweep Away has it the other way with the bounce first. Oh, okay. Well, you win this time. Fair enough. There we go. That makes sense. Since you're return target creature to its owner's hand. If you have 3 or more research counters, you may put it on top of its owner's library instead. There we go. Good call. Thank you. Sweep Away, huh? Yeah, I feel like I only cast that spell on attacking creatures because it's just so much better. But yeah, since it is a little harder to get that good mode, I think 2 mana is perfect here, unless we want to make it hit non-land permanents. Hitting non-lands is probably fine, although it depends how easy it is to get counters. Yeah. Let's just make it more generic, but more expensive. All right. Seems good. So in that case, we have 2 cards that get counters and 1 that utilizes them in blue. So that might be enough. In white, we have one way to get 1. 2 ways to get 1. Blue had a way to repeatedly get 1, so we could have it be like a creature that taps and exiles something from the graveyard. That actually feels black. Actually, red-white cares about the graveyard, doesn't it? So maybe we do want it in white. And it's like tap, exile a non-human creature card from your graveyard. You gain a research counter. And non-human is actually important because human is our main sapient race in this set. So having it hit non-humans is actually pretty restrictive. You get a research counter. You could cohort for 1. Tap an untapped creature you control, get a research counter. Activate only as a sorcery. This is also good, though. Yeah. No, that's interesting. So currently we have red-white caring about the graveyard, but I do like your design. I mean, and this is like a 1/1 for 1. We could make it different. We could make it bigger. How big, though? Activate only as a sorcery. You know it. Now it's feeling like a 2-drop. Okay. Let's make it a 2-drop. Yeah, we don't want too many 1/3s, but we can have a couple. And if you're using it for its ability, you're not blocking the 2/2s. Okay. Yeah, I like yours too. The research cohort thing makes sense. Maybe that could be an uncommon? Or maybe that's just too similar? But I'm going to put it down so that we have the idea. Maybe the research cohort is an uncommon and also gains you life. Let's make it a meaningful amount of life, shall we? Is 3 life too much to be gaining every turn? It does require you to tap down 2 of your creatures every turn. Maybe 2 life. Makes it like a human wizard, probably. Stop it. Okay. I don't know. They're a little similar, but I do like both designs. 3 life is a lot, but losing 2 blockers is also a lot. Yeah, it could potentially be worth 3 life. Here, I'll put it in the notes. 3 life. Okay. So we're looking good. We've got... Corpse Investigator? Corpse Inspector. It's kind of funny. Specimen Inspector. Fine. All right. And I guess now we're just... I guess we might still need a payoff in white. What about an aura/equipment that gives a larger buff if you've researched enough? Oh, that's where you're going to. Yep, we're on the same page. It's plus What's a reasonable stat line? I guess usually 2 and then 3 is about worth 2 of stats. I guess equip actually always appears at the bottom, huh? Equipped creature has vigilance and lifelink. Is that good enough? That requires you to have research, creatures, and I mean this card. Although, it's not actually that bad, because a lot of the things that you're getting research from are creatures that are small and dorky. So, having some equipment to put them on is pretty... Having some equipment to make those small creatures, the payoff for your research is pretty good. I'm not sure if this is a good enough payoff. Creature... We could just make them huge at that point. Because now I'm thinking, wouldn't it be cool if there were an equipment that is vigilance and lifelink combined seems strong, so maybe +2/+1 lifelink. Okay, hold that thought. Let me see. I was thinking it would be cool if there were like a rare that were an artifact. And it's white. If you have 1 or more research, equipped creature has vigilance. And then you go down the list. If you have 2 or more research, I guess counters is what we're saying. Equipped creature has lifelink. Ooh. Thanks. I'm thinking the big one needs to be like double strike, but maybe it's just bigger gaps. So instead of being 1, 2, 3, maybe it's like 1, 3, 5. I don't know. I don't know about costing. Like, it's not doing anything by itself till you have research counters. That seems cool. Are there any... This is something that could use a lot of tweaking. Like, we could change the numbers of how many research counters you need. We could change the abilities, because it could also theoretically give flying, or first strike, or stuff like that. I mean, I think, ideally, I would try and fit everything in that I could, 5 or 6 abilities, and have them all trigger on different research numbers, but there's not space for that, so... It could be 1 mana value and still be completely balanced, probably. Excellent. Yeah, because by itself, it does nothing. You have to have 1 research counter, and at that point, vigilance is not worth the 3 mana investment. Once you have 3 mana research counters, okay, vigilance and lifelink is pretty good. Once you go to double strike, that's the good stuff. So I don't know. Is the card even worth playing before you're at 5 research counters? Probably. If you're in the research deck, you're going to be playing this card. And it might be worth playing and equipping your creature even before the point at which you have 5 research counters. I think at least it can give +1/+1. And then if we want some more symmetry, it could be like 2, 4, 6. That way you have abilities at all the first 4 odd numbers, or even numbers. Maybe that's just trying to get too fancy. This card is really only worthwhile if you can consistently hit 5 research counters. 3 mana for Vigilance and Lifelink is weak. With it, +1/+1, it is now worth it at the second keyword. Yeah, +1/+1 and Lifelink, being able to move it to your creatures is pretty good. Okay. But I've made it take longer to get to, well, everything. But particularly Double Strike, which is what's most important. It's probably fine. We can, I mean, this is a very fiddly card that will probably just need to be play tested a lot. But I think it's a cool design. Excellent. That is the point of rares. Just want to make them as neat as possible. Oh, sweet. Well, in that case, we should probably try and make black research a thing. Okay. What do we have? Resource for cards. There it is. As an additional cost to cast blank. Sacrifice a creature. Draw 2 cards. And get... How do they word this? I always forget if it's like you draw 2 cards, and no, it's draw 2 cards. And then I guess we'd say you get a research counter. Okay, so that's one way. If we want a repeatable way in black, what would be something that black would do repeatedly? Pay life? Super simple design. Aberration Dissector. 2 black, 1 black. Got it. So it's a 2 black, 2/3. You pay 1 in black, sacrifice another creature, you get a research counter. That does seem to make sense. All right. Oh, I forgot that this doesn't keep formatting. You're good. I figured out what you meant. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that lets you repeatedly get stuff. It's Sacrifice Outlet for black-white. It... Probably sacrifice another creature? Oh, you did say that. I just didn't type it. Okay. That seems perfectly reasonable. At that point, then it makes this feel less necessary. But we are already trying to sacrifice creatures for stuff, so having some kind of Village Rites card makes some sense. I just don't want it to give you a research counter, because then that just makes it feel exactly like the Aberration Dissector. So With all the undercovers roaming around, a single counter is probably worth the sacrifice. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got... yeah, and I don't want it to be, like, too easy to do this. I don't want you to be getting research counters all over the place. It needs to be something that you do devote yourself to. So I don't want it to be like it's effectively free. But yeah, you got a bunch of undercovers to combine it with, to sacrifice. That's like 5 mana that you're sinking into just getting a research counter. We have this one, who comes back as a 1-drop afterwards, so that's something that's easy to sacrifice later. So yeah, I like that design. Was thinking about tacking on like each opponent loses 1 life and wanted to justify it. Gotcha. Yeah. I think what we would want probably is like some kind of black enchantment where whenever you gain a research counter, each opponent loses a life. Something like that. Let's just make that card. I guess we already have 1 enchantment that's like that, but I just want to get my ideas down, so. Something like that. So then if you have this out and then you have the Aberration Dissector out, you know, you're sacrificing creatures, boom. You are draining them. I always have trouble naming stuff. There we go. All right. That's pretty good. Back to commons, we got... Okay, this isn't giving you a research counter anymore, but you are sacrificing a creature to draw 2 cards. I guess we could just reprint Altar's Reap. Going on a tangent here, but what about a Bitter Blossom-esque research counter generator at rare? At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and get a research counter, and then some kind of beneficial effect whenever you get one. Okay. Ooh, got it. You lose 1 life and get a research counter. So it's a creature, which makes it easier to remove your just unstoppable engine. Now it's less unstoppable. But it'll make your future ones of these that come down bigger, so you know if you're playing a playset in Constructed or something. Yeah, I like that. Is this too strong? Should it be 2 mana? Probably make it at least 2 mana. Giving me, I was thinking about it. Giving this guy lifelink is really spicy. Oh, you're just saying like if you had another card, they could give it lifelink. I thought about printing it on this card itself, and I was like, that defeats the point. But yeah, giving it lifelink with another source. So we'll need to have a way to give a creature lifelink. 2 mana menace. That seems excellent. Give it a little bit more upside to justify the extra cost. Yeah, printing it on that wouldn't make sense. It's like, what are you doing? But yeah, okay. I don't know if this actually quite fits like the Plague Doctor idea, but yeah, kind of works. Okay, that was a really good idea, Pie Guy. I like this rare design a lot. Because yeah, maybe it dies, but maybe it gets you some research first, and then that can help your other stuff. But dude, even if you just like build up some research in the early game and limited, oof, then this comes down as like a 6/6 for 2. That's pretty good. I like that a lot. I guess we could just make this Altar's Reap. For now. Gotta have some sacrifice stuff. Alright. And then we needed like one more way to just gain a single research counter in black. 3 mana value, draw 2 cards, then create a 2/1 black horror. Right. Oh, that's cool. As an instant or a sorcery then? Because instant's pretty good, but I also like it because you could use it to like turn a 1/1 into a creature that can block an undercover. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. This is pretty good. I like that a lot. Also, Forbidden Knowledge is somehow an untaken name. Is that what you're suggesting for this one then? That's pretty good. I like that. I forgot about the 2/1 horrors. That's really cool. We're gonna need to keep doing those. Conditional removal, small removal. I feel like I made this one last time, actually. Let me take a look at the other sheet. Yeah, we made this last time. The 2/1 horrors were one of my favorite things about last stream. I love bizarre stat lines on tokens. Yeah, I was pretty excited about that. It's They're really cool. Because it's just so weird. Magic doesn't really do them very often. At least not consistently. Yeah, we made this one last time. I knew I was just recreating something we'd already made. So choose target creature, you get a research counter. Then the chosen creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of research counters you have. So this is a card at common that is both a payoff and an enabler, but because it only gives you one counter, that's probably okay. Okay. That gives us 2 commons in black that give you counters, 2 in blue, and 1 that pays you off. Oh wait, I forgot when we designed Vacuum Chamber that we did already have Rumored Serpent. It's fine. Blue's the color that's most about research. We can give it extra cards that care. Then white has 2 cards that give you research and 1 payoff. Actually, 3 cards that give you research. I forgot we also had a disenchant effect with that. So, seems reasonable. I don't know how much we need. I don't know that I'll be able to tell you how many sources of counters we need. Until we start playtesting. And, I mean, we're also going to have uncommons and rares and stuff that provide them, so. I guess that probably about does it for our common research cards, unless you had any more ideas. Because we could probably fit another one in black. There's only 2 that care about it right now. I actually really liked the willing subject name, so let's put that on a creature, because that makes more sense there anyway. Make it a 2-drop, 1 and a black. Yeah, just something simple like that. Gives you something else to sacrifice. It gives you some more research, just a little bit. And it replaces itself when it dies. Okay, so that probably does it for those first 2 of our mechanics. Research counters and undercover. We have pretty much all the commons we need for them. So next time we'll probably start doing the same thing for raid and exploit, and then once we have all that, we can sort of fill in the commons with just random stuff that works with our themes. So thank you so much to everyone who came out tonight, who gave suggestions and helped design cards. I know I really appreciate it because I have a few good ideas, but it's hard to have a whole set's worth of good ideas, and you guys help out with that a lot. So with Volcarine, Gunblade, Jugo, Wind, Pie Guy, thank you all for coming. Last minute idea: when it enters the battlefield, draw a card if you have 3 or more research counters. Otherwise, get a research counter. Thanks for the stream. It was a ton of fun. That's a good idea. Let me just toss that onto a random creature. Blue. Excellent. All right, and we can come back to that next time. Actually, I'll try and probably work on this throughout the week so that, you know, we have a bit more done when we start going next time. But yeah, thank you, Pie Guy, as well. You have an excellent night.